Paul, let's talk about M&A for a moment. I'd like your thoughts on M&A from the standpoint of the cycle, the point where we are in this cycle, and when it is most effective, and why haven't we seen meaningful M&A so far during this cycle, when I think you and I both agree that M&A makes the most sense early stage?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You know, the whole uranium industry has changed dramatically since the last run up into the early 2000s, mid 2000s. In the mid 2000s, you could have single project companies that could form. You know, there was enough excitement and everything else. But what we've seen is the market dynamics changed to where you've got large state-owned enterprises out there that are able to compete on a large scale and actually make the market, you know, well, where we're at today. But you know, you're instead of competing just against the other U.S. competitors like you are and Energy Fuels and everything, you're competing not against them, but against the Kazatomprom, the Uranium Ones, and the Camecos of the world, and also various other large companies. And so economies of scale are not, you know, there's a couple of things that you have to get your costs down to be competitive. And one of the things that's become very apparent to me is that as you have smaller companies trying to get, you become small fish in a pond full of a lot of very big fish, and they don't necessarily eat you to get bigger. They starve you for food. In other words, they starve you for revenue because they're able to go get all the business, and it makes it very hard to have, and pardon the pun, in the uranium space, a critical mass to be competitive. And I see that a defined need to have consolidation in the space. There's a lot of very good projects out there, and there's a lot of there's good people in the industry, but it's hard when all you're doing is competing against yourselves, when truly on a global scale, we're actually competing against countries. So I see the need for M&A work to be able to strengthen the books of the company, strengthen the company strategy-wise. I think now is the time to do it before things get to the one thing that became very apparent in the last cycle was that once companies actually started getting operations going and everything else, they were already behind the curve with respect to delivering into the market. The other thing is that the industry's contracted significantly, and a whole lot of talent has exited the industry and gone elsewhere. And so you can have a great project and a great set of other properties as well, but if you don't have the means to get it executed, it becomes harder to be present in the uranium market. And so I think one of the things that, like from my experience, you know, working with Encore has been, that's what's exciting about it, is because you have a management that is experienced in M&A, but now with me getting on board, now we've got, not only do we have experience in M&A, but we have experience in executing. And I see that as our strength. And I think that with respect to other companies, you know, I think that if we can get beyond some of the egos and the pride of ownership and everything else, and look at making the bigger picture, making a stronger combined approach, everybody profits in the end. But we have to get beyond some of the short-term issues.
Yep, certainly agreed. I think that the market will reward scale later on, maybe not now, and it will also reward good M&A movements in this market. And we've already seen that to some degree with a few transactions that have happened, smaller stuff, you know, not stuff that necessarily moves the needle per se, although it really has in some of these equities, and Encore is one of those with the Westwater acquisition. And so absolutely, if we can get past some of the egos and the prides out there, you and I both know that trying to do M&A mid, late stage, there's very little value left in that, certainly late stage. We saw that last period, last cycle, we saw late stage M&A, which didn't result in anything positive. Fully agreed here. And any sound operator knows that the early stage M&A makes the most sense from a value standpoint. And it's really just making sure that both parties see that. And that's the important part, to see that the combined company, you know, it's more or less a 2 + 2 = 6 or 7 scenario. And that's absolutely true. And there's very few places you can do that unless you're at the bottom of a market or in a bear market or just coming out of that. I think that's where assets go on sale. That's one place where the uranium space has not necessarily saw that and had any people take action where you go over to the places like in the copper market, for example, or in the gold market, you saw a lot of M&A happen for absolutely stupid cheap prices during 2015, 2016, and even into 2017, 2018 even. Just some fantastic moves that will absolutely rewarded later on in this market.